I got my first composer job. What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's video. My name is Anthony Pereira. I am an artist, I'm a composer, and I am trying to make a career out of my creativity. And this is a bit of a special one. It's an episode that I was not expecting to do on episode 3, but here we are. I got my first job as a composer on a project. Now, first of all, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to give a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. As you can see, it's not daytime, it is nighttime, it's dark in this room, but I have some fancy new lights that I was able to get because of my support on Patreon. If you haven't gone to my Patreon yet, I suggest you go. I'll have the link in the description. Just go check it out. There's a couple of different tiers, a couple of different ways you can support me and also stay up to date with what I'm doing. As you can see, I am not going to waste any time putting that support to making better content, to allowing myself to get as good as I can at what I'm doing and at what I'm making. So again, thank you so much for everybody that does support. And if you haven't been over to the Patreon, go over and check it out. And I want to go over 4 main things in this video. 1, how I got the job, connections, work ethic, and serving the client's vision. So for my first job as a composer, I ended up writing an original song for a trailer for somebody's book. I did it with my great friend Aaron Landucci, who filmed everything and edited everything and was one of the drivers behind the creative vision for the project. And I highly recommend that you go check out the video. I'll put a link for that in the description. And it honestly happened really fast. So let's go over point number 1, which is how I got the job. So as I mentioned, I did it with my friend Aaron Landucci. I'm also going to put all of his information in the description. He is an amazing person, an amazing creative. He's doing great things. You should definitely go check him out. And really, it started with him reaching out to me about doing something for a project he was working on. He had mentioned it was a trailer for a book. He got me in contact with the author. Of course, I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to do it. I'm jumping at everything right now. And it's actually a little bit of a funny story. So I actually missed her first email and I was kind of waiting for the connection to happen, wasn't seeing anything, getting a little discouraged, and she ended up sending a checkup email, so thank goodness for that, because I saw that one, and that's really just kind of a point to check your email intentionally. Something that I've been doing recently is I'm really only checking my email like 2 to 3 times a day, and that's really hard for me personally, but when I do it, I'm sitting down, I'm looking at every single thing, and I'm trying to organize them and just make sure when you're checking your email, you're giving it your full attention because you don't want to miss that big email. By the time I ended up getting that email, it was a little bit closer to the date that they wanted to release the trailer. So I really only had like a little less than a week to make it work, which means I had to get something out super fast just to see if it was along the lines of what they were looking for. And originally she asked if I had anything kind of prepared already. So I sent her a couple things. I didn't really feel like it was going to be right, and she ended up agreeing. I said, I can write something original for you, and she was just a little nervous about the time frame, about whether or not I could make it happen, and also whether or not there was a budget for that. And as a way to force myself to work and to work quickly, I said, yes, don't worry about it. It's going to be the same as if you were to just use another one of my pieces. And I didn't have actually any visuals to go off of. I just had kind of 4 or 3 songs that she sent me that were kind of like inspiring to her, that the feel she was kind of going for. And I had a rough estimate of how long the trailer was going to be, but I didn't really have any visuals. I kind of know Aaron's style, so that's kind of what I was going off of, but it was actually still really difficult. So that was on Friday, and I needed to get something to them by Monday. So I went to work over the weekend as much as I could. I got something ready and I sent it over, and I actually didn't hear anything back for a couple days. And so I just figured, you know what, it probably just wasn't what they were looking for. Like, that's okay, it's just one time. And then Aaron reaches out to me on Wednesday, I think, and says, hey man, just put the song into the video. It turned out super great. I just have a couple notes. And so I'm like, oh, cool, it's working. And so I kind of had to restructure the song. He had edited it to some temp music. Temp music is when someone just puts in a temporary piece of music to kind of get the feel. It makes editing a lot easier. I kind of had to follow the kind of the flow of that song. And so I got to work that night and I sent something to him kind of in the middle of the night. He's in New York, so contacted him in the morning and it ended up being great. He just had a couple of notes and it was really just like something I could fix in 10-15 minutes, so I fixed it. And by the time I was getting him the finished piece, it was Friday, and the book trailer was supposed to release on Monday. So an extremely quick turnaround, and hopefully everything was going to work out really well. It did. It turned out great. I'm super proud of it. Aaron's super proud of it. And I think we were able to accomplish what the author was going for in getting her book out there and announcing it. So that's the story of how I got the job. Now I want to go on to point number 2, which is connections. I didn't get this job myself. I had a connection with Aaron. He reached out to me and I was able to have this opportunity through that. And more than just connections, I want to talk about relationships, because really my relationship with Aaron is not directly connected to media, to filming, to music. It goes back pretty far, actually. I was working at a coffee shop and he came into the coffee shop. I still remember the day he came in. The nicest guy you will ever meet. Super sweet, super kind. And he ended up working at that coffee shop. And eventually he ended up moving to New York to pursue his creativity through photography, through videography, and kind of figure out really what his voice was. Fortunately, we stayed in touch. He is a big fan of my music, and it always is super humbling and amazing and encouraging. He's always said that when he has stuff, he is going to throw them my way. That's an extremely valuable connection. And really, when I moved to Los Angeles, the reason that you move to a city is to get connected. And obviously with the pandemic going on, I haven't been able to do that. And so that's been something I've been kind of stressed out about, is how do I actually make connections right now with anybody? And then I remembered Aaron, I remembered my friend, I remembered the connection that I do have. I wanted to focus on that, because when you do have a connection, that's what you should go with. When you know somebody that you can partner with them and use it as an opportunity to make something. And if you aren't going to utilize and work with the connections you already have, then there's no guarantee that when you do get other connections down the road that you're going to learn how to work with them. Now on to point number 3, which is work ethic. This process was very fast. It needed a very quick turnaround. And I have a full-time 9-to-5 job. I'm also a dad. I got 2 awesome little boys, and I am a husband. And fortunately, it's a pandemic, so I don't really have any friends, but I still have a very, very busy schedule. The weekends are pretty precious to my family. The evenings are very important. And so when I had the opportunity to get this job, I knew I had to bust my butt. My wife is extremely supportive, and she let me bust my butt, and I was able to put in the work regardless of staying up late, regardless of sacrificing time, and I was able to make this happen in a very short period of time. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I'm just trying to emphasize how important that work ethic is, where an opportunity does come up and you have to be able to go for it and forget about playing video games or watching TV shows, and you got to be like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm going to work. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do. I'm going to take this opportunity to work as hard as I can to make this happen. And the final point I want to talk about is serving the client's vision. That is a huge thing in so much media, but really especially with composing. Obviously in this circumstance, Aaron and myself were both serving a client's vision, but he was really one of the main creative directors, along with the author, of how the structure of the video is going to go, choosing a lot of the shots, the coloring and all that kind of stuff. For me, I was really coming in and my creativity was taking the backseat to everybody else's. And that is okay. That is one of the main things about being a composer, is that it is really not about you. It is really about how you can best serve the vision that you're working with. I still got to add my own creative flair to the piece. I mostly did that with choices of instruments, trying to be unique. Really, I was going off of those original inspiration pieces that she gave me, and just for time, there was a lot of aspects that I ended up just kind of emulating because that was what they were going for. But what ended up happening was I ended up creating something that I probably wouldn't have done if I ever just sat down on my computer and made music. It ended up being something pretty unique, and it stretched me, and I ended up learning things and finding new sounds and finding new ways to accomplish something sonically. But I had to translate the author and her story with music. At that point, it was my voice, but it was her story. And that's the beautiful thing about composing, is that without footage, without editing, without coloring, without characters, it's just music. But I get to put my music with all of that, and it becomes this much larger, more collective, collaborative piece of art. That is seriously the greatest feeling in the whole world. And that is the story of how I got my first job as a composer, and here is to many more. I'm so excited that I'm documenting this, that I'm sharing this journey with other people, with other creatives. I hope that you can see this and you can see how valuable it is to put in the work and to value yourself and to value your art, because when you start to do that, you're going to take the time, you're going to put in the effort to get better. And even if you're making this for nobody or 10 people or 20 people, that's okay. You need to do it for yourself, and you need to prove it to yourself first that you're going to put in the value and the effort before anybody else is going to see that in it. Thank you so much for watching. This was obviously a very fun one to make. If you are new to this channel, you can subscribe, you can like this video, you can leave a comment. All of it is appreciated. I love the interaction with you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.